following will contain spoilers from the Steven Universe franchise storylines. Thank you and have a nice time. Hello again everyone, this is Dragon Videos with another Steven Universe video, and this time I'm ready to present a top 10 Steven Universe songs list. I've gone over some of the episodes before, but this time I'm going to focus on the music of Steven Universe. We've had a lot of music in the past couple of years, especially from Steven Universe movie, Steven Universe Future, and of course Steven Universe itself. We've had songs that made us smile and laugh like crazy, thinking about the good times that the characters are gonna have. And then of course, probably a good chunk of these songs are always gonna be ones that will make us cry to no end and express sympathy to the poor characters. And then of course we have music that gives us that sense of dread of what is to come next. So for this list, I'm going to focus on all the Steven Universe franchise songs to focus on why they're very good, what they represent, and some of the influence they have in terms of a plot point of the story. Bear in mind, these are my opinions and my opinions alone. If you have a favorite Steven Universe song that's not on this list, that's okay, just feel free to put a comment about that. And without further ado, let's begin! Oh boy, did I have a really tough time trying to figure out what would be in the number 10 spot. But bear in mind, these are my opinions alone. So, we basically had a pairing with Rose and Pearl in the past, which some people thought was a little unhealthy and obsessive. And then you have Greg and Rose's relationship, which is very sweet and somewhat healthy. Not completely healthy, but in some cases, they definitely seem a relatable couple. Anyway, Pearl and Greg have been duking it out to win over Rose's affections since the very beginning of the show. They were practically belittling each other, Pearl giving Greg a hard time because he is a human, and Pearl thought he would be just a phase, another human that Rose was gonna temporarily be around. But that was not the case, and as a result, Rose picked him and had lost her life to give birth to Steven. And for a while, Steven tried to figure a way how to get them together. So they all booked it to Empire City and tried to talk it out. When they had more awkward moments again, Steven finally decides that maybe the best way to get them to talk is through a special serenade. I don't know when this ever was the last time Steven ever did soft and somber serenades, but this one was definitely a very good one to use. Steven tries to get Greg and Rose to talk to each other properly, and by that point they finally got to that. They both missed Rose, and they were trying to get over her death together. But they just didn't seem to try to also get over the fact that Rose chose Greg over Pearl, and that really hurt the both of them, because now that she's gone. I mean, true, they weren't the best of friends at the beginning, but they definitely took comfort in the fact that Rose meant a lot to them. She had a big impact on their lives, and they got changed for the better. And it was by then they finally, but with this song, finally be able to overcome their previous jealousy and become very good friends, as we saw in Steven Universe Future. I put this song in number 10 on this list because it definitely represented grief and trying to find something in common after a very difficult love triangle over the years. This is relatable to a lot of people who struggle with those feelings, and Steven is telling them that even though Rose is gone, there's always gonna be Steven, the very person that both Greg and Pearl love, no matter what the cost. But I felt like there are other songs that are worth talking about. As I've made multiple times in the videos I've made about the character arc of Blue Diamond, she definitely has come far, and I felt like this song represents that. So in My Little Reason Why, it's such a cheery song. It represents of how far Blue had been proactive. She reflects on who she was as a person in the beginning of the song when you hear cold palace walls and emptied hallowed halls, represented her long-term grief and pain that she suffered for thousands of years after losing Pink. But then, over time, when she soon learned about what had happened to Pink and that in some ways she was the cause of her vanishing for good out of her life, she finally got over herself and began to move on. She still was upset about losing Pink, but she's able to move on now, and reflecting on that from now on she was gonna love others aside from Pink, helping out whenever possible, which in some ways represented more about her true nature. I mean, true, she was a horrible tyrant, but it was only because it was the status quo of things. And we didn't know too much about the background history about the diamonds at the time. Thankfully, the book End of an Era could explain all that. But anyway, I felt like My Little Reason Why was a strong representation of how far Blue had come, from being a very depressed ruler to being a very loving gem who will pay attention more to everyone's emotions and tries to help them out with her new power, the blue clouds. True, some of you are thinking it's drug based, but I'd like to think of it more as aromatherapy. You know those special oiled candles you'd see in spas and stuff? That's basically it. But anyway, My Little Reason Why is further up on this list because it gives a strong reflection about character arc without having to go into too much detail. Need I say more about Lapis Lazuli? She's been through so much, and on your shore it just represents those feelings. And of course, she has been through multiple trauma. I understand there have been some horrible things she's done, like leaving Peridot on Earth and taking the whole flippin' barn with. But at the same time, you do understand she's been through a lot. In A Mirror in a Thousand Spheres, forced to fuse with Jasper. Her heart could take so much. And don't forget, she did feel bad about leaving Peridot in the first place, but her anxiety and fear of reliving the horror she had to deal with was really highlighted a lot in this scene. On Your Distant Shore represents the fear and anxiety that Lapis Lazuli had over the capability of whether or not she should go back to Earth or having to relive that fear again. But she really wants to have that sense of hope that there will be more on the other side. Now, Why So Blue is a total 180 to Lapis's character. She finally becomes more confident, relaxed. The tune is very soft and gentle, same way we would have with My Little Reason Why. I put it further down this list because it gives a more ideal concept of Lapis's character development. She's been through a lot, but it definitely shows how far she's come from being this destructive individual into being someone who creates her way to deal with her feelings and recognizes of her destructive consequences. I mean, true, her son didn't exactly land with the two lapis lazulis, but to give her some credit, it wasn't without a fault. We still have a good general idea that Lapis has really changed as a character. I mean, sure, we would want to have more time if they'd been given more writing, but Crooniverse really had managed to find a way to express that through this song. Lapis has been through a lot, but at least she finally stopped putting the past in front of her and finally take a step forward and face what she fears most, which is why it is admirable of her. And this is why I put these two songs together, because hand in hand, it definitely represents Lapis's character arc as well as her own person in a nutshell. Didn't want to miss out on this catchy tune. So, to build up the sequence for it, Steven and Spinel tried to go back and fix things with the injector. It worked for a while, but then Steven had a slip of the tongue which pissed Spinel off and resulted in the injector. And after a true kind of love, Steven tried to confront Spinel and to try to again understand of what he was missing. It wasn't until when, after Spinel talked about and gloating of how he was so weak and pathetic but somehow was the savior of the universe, he soon realized of who he was as a person. He changed and grew up. It's by then that Spinel and Steven have a dual face-off. While Steven's in song tells Spinel that it's up to her of how she wants to handle things, how she wants to fix the situation that she's stuck in. And it's understandable why she always gets standoffish. I put Change this high up on the list because it is a very catchy boss song that you would think of using for a video game. I mean, think about it. If many of you were to compare this with Kingdom Hearts or maybe the Hollow Knight games, you would definitely understand why I would think that this song would be so similar to the final battles in regards to Spinel, which is why I felt Change was very appropriate. Damn it, Pink, why is it that you're always making it so hard to like you when you pull stuff like this? So, in the Steven Universe movie, we learned that Spinel was an old playmate of Pink Diamond before she got her own colony at Earth. And for a while, she was happy and content until the day Pink got her colony and, of course, tried to grow up. On the debut, Spinel was of no disappointment, from her silhouette at the beginning of the scene to the very catchy beats. The electro swing of Other Friends really gives us chills, as well as we can't help but dig the groovy beats that come with it. But here's a very bigger reason why I put it so high up on the list.
Another game, this time I got to win. Life on the line, winner takes all. Ready or not, let's begin. I heard the story over and over again. Gee, it's swell to finally beat her other friends.
It gives you that sense of, oh dear God, we are going to die. Spinel definitely may become off as a cartoon character with rubber hose, but do not let that fool you. We've seen of how she's able to use that to her advantage, as well as take on the crystal gems. This is also where we get to learn some of a little bit of the psychology and once again, Pink's awful mistakes. Especially when she says, loser of a game you didn't know we were playing. You definitely get the hint of where she's gonna go with this, and it doesn't take an Einstein to know exactly what she's talking about. And again, I put this song of her friends this close on the list is because of the fact it represents that psyche. Again, how often do we ever have songs that focuses on the psyche of the characters? Anyway, this represents the anger and the rage that Spinel had over Pink and wanted to do just about anything to destroy the happiness she created, even if it means killing Steven and the rest of the Earth in the process to do so. It was only a temporary state, but I also included another song on this list that definitely gives us a 180 to Spinel's personality. We definitely had a WTF moment the moment she was rejuvenated in the process. And we had later on learned more about Spinel's past. Apparently, she was waiting on a floating garden for thousands of years. Drift away was representing the literal concept of someone in your life going away from you. Even with these lyrics,
Finally news about how the story ends. She doesn't exist now, survived by her son and all of her brand new friends. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that cool? And isn't that cruel? And aren't I a fool to have?
I kid you not, this song was so sad that even the actress of Spinel was practically crying. Sarah Stiles really knew how to bring out the emotional, gut-wrenching sorrow that came out of Spinel, and we can't help but find this so relatable. So this twofer of a deal in this spot represented all of Spinel's psyche, her rage and anger towards Pink, as well as that sorrow and isolation, which definitely shows more about how well thought out Spinel was as a villain. True, some of you have been complaining that she was too easily redeemed, but at least give Crewniverse a good credit for giving her 2 songs that give us a highlight more than we've had with the Diamonds. Very rarely have we ever come across the Diamond songs, but boy can Yellow really kick it. So in What's the Use of Feeling Blue, it gives off that eerie, crazy sense of an alienation, but it also represents more power into Blue's song. Of course, Yellow's trying to snap Blue out of her depression, trying to get her to move on and continue things as they were for thousands of years without the use of Pink. And of course, she feels like maybe the only way that Blue will ever move on is by destroying the Earth itself. But it's also where we got to learn more about Yellow's own personal guilt. We didn't know much about it at the time, but we definitely had a little insight of Yellow. She too is also grieving the loss of Pink, but she's barricading it by literally burying herself in her work. But again, I put this song so further down on the list is because it gives us an eerie sense of what worse is to come. And with the Pearl duet, it definitely gives off a little bit of that creepy sensation that the Diamond Society is definitely still an enemy that's nothing to sneeze at. So yeah, what's the use of feeling blue? Well, what's the use of having a dangerous villain without the use of a song? So we didn't exactly have very high opinions about Pearl, mostly because of how she can talk trash about humans as well as being a little condescending to her teammates at times. But with the song It's Over, Isn't It?, we definitely got to see a little bit more of Pearl's more sad and somber moments. She had mourned for Pink for thousands of years under the name of Rose Quartz. She viewed Pink or Rose as someone who can help her go through and get rid of that mental capacity. She's still upset that Greg was chosen over her, and even now is just trying to figure out how the heck to move on. Like Drift Away, this song is so relatable for people who are still trying to get over the loss of a loved one, especially if they have been going through a breakup. Pearl was still struggling with that, and even in Steven Universe Future, she still misses her, but it was still, at that point, Pearl had issues trying to overcome her own mental problems of seeing value in herself because, technically speaking, Rose Quartz was her rock. So this is, again, a very gut-wrenching song where you just want to give Pearl a hug at that moment. She's been through a terrible loss, and now Steven's just that waking reminder every single day that Steven's all that's left of Rose. After a major flop that Steven had with the diamonds, he finds himself alone in the room trying to figure out what the hell to do next. I mean, talking to them didn't seem to do much favors. And we get this song where we too find ourselves having flashbacks of how Steven grew as a person. He also had issues being heard out by the crystal gems, sometimes not being taken seriously by the adults in his life, and even those like Connie try to help him out whenever possible. Slowly but surely though, Steven manages to find the way to help Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl grow as individuals and figure out how to solve their emotional problems in a way that does help. It was also where he reflected on the fact that he also had issues with his powers in the beginning, but over time he overcame that challenge too. Upon realizing this reflection, he soon begins to realize that he is no different from his mother. I know many of you don't like the idea that I'm making a comparison to that here, but if you think about it, Pink had the same issues as Steven, having trouble being heard out, trying to make things right whenever possible, being entertaining. Familiar represents that song capability of Steven coming up with, okay, I've been through this situation before, I just need to rethink my strategy in order for people to come and talk to each other. And that's exactly what happened by the tail end of a song. Steven realizes that the only way he'll have to talk to them is by setting them up in a gathering, or at least put the situation in a way where everyone could recognize it. And for many of you, I am starting to see it as a Disney song because, like Disney, it does have a tendency of having character arcs and character explorations. But I also put this up in the song is because it gave us a sense of memory, reflecting us to how far Steven has come as a character from Season 1 to Season 5. And this is why I put number 2, because also the ballad of this song is just beautiful. Oh, Change Your Mind was quite an episode. It was practically an emotional roller coaster after everything Steven has been through, and be mistaken not, we've also had to deal with a lot of emotions riding into this. And is any of you still scarred after that whole gem being plucked out of Steven's gut scene? Well, putting that aside, he also had to deal with trying to reason with Blue and Yellow, and as I have made mentions before, having to deal with the dismissive White Diamond. And oh my god, was she a piece of work and practically walking nightmare fuel. I chose the song Change Your Mind because in the number 2 category, it just seems so very fluent and loving, as well as it just gives us a very good idea of how much Steven has grown into loving himself, because that's one of the themes that contributes into the song series. And plus, it's also a very nice farewell to the Steven Universe franchise in general before we've had Steven Universe Future. And I hope Change Your Mind is definitely something that we'll continue to cherish for the future to come. Maybe you would never find this surprising that I would put it on number 1. This song definitely constitutes a very revengeful song. I mean, after all, what would be more refreshing than a character getting revenge after having their tar being beaten by a villain or a big jerk? Which is the case with Jasper at that point. After the events of the arrival, we were definitely ticked off of what Jasper had done to poor Garnet, zapping her and forever giving us the nightmare fuel of a poor fusion slowly falling apart before our very eyes. It's by then we had a long while of despising Jasper at that point, and when Garnet finally reunited and got her game back, we couldn't help but feel that raw energy, that increasing strength with each verse that the song came into play. And heck, even Garnet had a few savage moments, not just by physical punches alone. She definitely was making fun of how Jasper handles relationships, which definitely plagued her for the majority of the series. And definitely we couldn't help with this raw energy feel energized whenever we're running or working out. And heck, we even couldn't help in that scene to even shout, "Get him, Garnet!" It's by then I felt like this song was deserving as the number 1 spot as being the most energizing, spectacular song that reflects Garnet of who she is as a character, as well as giving us that amazing strength of how love could be. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is it for me. This will be a very long while, and I won't be back until Christmas month, believe it or not. But feel free to do a comment, subscribe, and don't forget to add some of your own favorite songs on the comments below. Also do a like whenever possible. This is Dragon Videos signing off.